nice and quiet. Then our hotel room was like right in the middle of everything, of Bourbon Street.
Wait, it's not family friendly, you said, for your hotel?
Well, the hotel is, but Bourbon Street in general is not a family environment.
Wait, where are you at right now again?
I'm in New Orleans.
Oh yeah, that's right. You're in New
Yeah,
Orleans.
yeah.
Shoot, where is that?
It's in
Where?
Louisiana.
Louisiana. What are you guys doing over there?
Visiting family, actually. It's his uncle's 85th birthday.
Oh my God, you guys got family all over the world.
Yeah, we kind of do.
What
We kind of do.
wasn't you guys just like in Toronto not too long
We
ago?
were. We were. So we have family in Toronto. We have family in Texas. We have family in Louisiana, Colorado, Minnesota, Vietnam still, you know. So yeah, really all over.
Oh my man, well that's good. Gives you guys an excuse to justify traveling all the time.
Yeah, yeah, that and we are empty nesters. Our
That's
youngest
true.
one is moving out to college on the 25th, so it's a bittersweet victory, right?
Oh man, you said the youngest one, the daughter.
The youngest one, and the eldest is at his first job training, corporate job training.
Ooh.
Yeah, so we're all actually traveling right now, but all traveling separately, so it's kind of different for us.
Oh man, yeah, you got what, 2 more weeks and then you guys are completely empty nesters.
Yeah, we are. It's different. It's weird because we're like, "Oh, okay, we're always looking for travel buddies and everything like that. And most of our friends have kids slightly older than your kids. So it's
Yeah.
like, oh, I still got soccer practice. I still got all of this. It's like,
Hmm.
okay, well, so C and I are doing a lot of traveling on our own now.
Well, hopefully for us, not for long because my daughter's driving now,
I know, I
and
saw
so
that.
and so that'll help. That'll help. Well, are you ready
We are
for this
ready.
week's market update? I know
Yeah,
Jim is. Jim is always here from the East Coast.
I love it.
What is going on, Jim? Good to see you, man. I know we haven't been there for a few weeks because we had July 4, and then we had other things that came up. Charles isn't here today either because he has work early morning as well. So it's definitely summer. I mean, if you don't feel it yet, at least here in Sacramento, we're like what, 110? What's the
That's so
temperature like
crazy.
over there, New Orleans?
You know what's funny? All of our cousins were saying, it's like, oh, say sorry about the weather and blah, 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 as if they can control it. Come over here. It's about 90 degrees, but
Uh-huh.
it's humid. So honestly, it kind of feels like Hawaii to me.
Oh man,
I
it's
actually
humid.
like the humidity. It is, but it's not that bad. It's not that bad. It's not as bad as personally when I went to Minnesota, it was just super duper humid. Here it feels a lot more like Hawaii, a lot more tropical. It's not that bad. It's
Okay,
better
that's
than our
cool.
weather. It's better than Sac weather right now.
I think anywhere is better than sack weather right now. Gosh, even waking up this early at 6 a.m., it's heck hot. So, but all right, well, let's go over some market data, shall we, Lisa? It's been a while, but oh man, dude, inventory is going down. Well, from last week, but throughout the whole past couple of months, it's been pretty steady. But it is on the downturn this past week. Same with yeah, same with new listings. So inventory went down 4% from last week. New listings went down 30% from last week. Sold homes is down 37%. Pending homes are also down 8% from last week. What does last month look like? All right, inventory increased from last month 2%. New listings decreased 8%. Sold homes are up 6%. Pending homes are up 11%. Now, from last year, more inventory by almost 40%. New listing is more by 17%. Sold home is also more by 8%. Pending homes are more by 35% compared to last year. Okay, so everything is up. compared to last year, which is good. Okay, we need more inventory. Okay, price per square foot is up from last week by 4%, but it's down from last month. But 5% increase from last year. Okay, average price per square foot is up from last year. Let's go over days on the market. 27 days on average for a home to go pending. Compared to last week, it was 28. So not much difference there. From last month, compared to 18 days on average, 27 days on average. And last year was 18 days. This year was 27 days on average. It's still very fast, okay? For all you guys that are not sure, this is still very fast data right here, meaning that if you're putting your home on the market and you're marketing it correctly, pricing it correctly, it should go pending under 27 days. Okay, so that's what this is saying right here. Okay, all right, looking good. Active price went down from last week, just a tiny tad. Sold price is up though from last week by 4% on average. Now, sold price is down from last month, just a tiny tad, like 0.5%. But active price is also down compared to last month by almost 2%. And this is really the kicker here. Sold price is up compared to last year by 4.6%. Okay, so if you're looking at macro and micro data, here it is. Okay, market's still heading up. All right, everybody, prices are still going up. Active price though, like list price, the price it comes on the market with it's down compared to last year by 2%. But sold price is more important. This is what's really kind of like the average, the median in Sac County right now. Oh, God, that's isn't that crazy, Lisa? 632K, the average. Man,
Well, I came from the Bay Area. I'm not surprised by this.
yeah, it's getting close. It's like literally around the corner from Bay Area now.
Not quite yet. Thank God for that. Bay Area is still at 1.4 ish.
We're
So there's
halfway
still
there.
halfway
We're
is still
halfway there.
way better. Halfway is still better. A lot better.
Gosh, that's so crazy. Oh my gosh. Look at the inventories. We got 1 point. Actually, I like looking at this more. Okay. 2.2 months worth of inventory versus 2 months worth of inventory last month. All right. So we do have a little bit more inventory than last month and than last year, right? But again, it's not a lot, only a tiny tab. And I kind of like to see this be more like stagnant for a few months before we could have a really turning factor, whether it's still a seller's market. And just by this, it is technically still a seller's market under 3 months worth of inventory. And you see how it's for the past couple months been 1.4, 1.2, 1.3, and then it goes up and up, so it's not stagnant. That's what I'm trying to say. It needs to be flatlined uh, uh across, excuse me, before we could make any drastic decisions that, oh yeah, it's no longer a seller's market. Let's go and send low balls to all these sellers. It's not like that yet. Okay. Still very low inventory. That's why, you know, sold price. Oops, not this. That's why sold price is the way it is. Okay. And hopefully this helps. That's the market data for all of this. Let's go over to mortgages. Yeah,
Yep.
there it is. All right. Hey, it went down a little bit. Tiny
It did
tap.
go down a little bit. Yes, yes. So for those of you who are on the fence who are just waiting for the rates to drop and everything like that, so weekend and week in and weekend, we see its movement and everything like that. At the height, you were seeing it at 7.14. Now you're seeing it at 6.98. The lowest we've seen it was 6.98 this year. Okay, so if you're teetering, it's not going to be that huge of a difference. But if it does go up and everything like that, and you're right there on the cusp of qualification, again, lock your loans anywhere that you see that if it's still affordable for you guys, don't gamble on it. It's still kind of rough and volatile right now. So we show this to you every week. You can see it for yourselves and whatnot. Um, it is what it is. Hopefully, we'll see some sort of a change after the election, but as of right now, it's pretty consistent.
Yeah, it sure is. I mean, I guess that's good, but you guys already know my opinion about rates. It's gonna change by the time you guys try to lock it in with your lenders.
Right.
So again, disclaimer, just because you saw this on the show today, don't mean that if you guys go to your lender tomorrow or even in an hour, it's gonna be like this. It might change. It might be better or
Right.
it might be worse. Okay, so expect that. Just
Yeah.
kind of use it as kind of like a starting ground. How about that? And then take it with a big grain of salt. Depending on your credit, the loan amount, that's all going to vary. Okay, it's going to have a big factor on this.
Right.
Okay. Um, what do we have on the agenda today, huh? think we have a I think we have a few videos we wanted to continue reacting to. Um, what was it? What was I gonna say? I had a I had this thing I wanted to share with everybody. Wanted to look it over real quick. Give me 1 second. Am I cutting out?
You're okay now.
Lisa, I'm okay now.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. Maybe everybody's up early today, huh? Touching the internet. I don't know the bandwidth. I don't know.
It
Something's
could be
going
my
on.
side too. It could be my side that I'm not hearing you as well, just because hotel Wi-Fi usually is not the strongest.
I guess so. I don't know. Oh yeah, there was a news article I wanted to talk about. Somebody shared it with me, and I think it's good that we could talk about it. You remember this article, Lisa?
Hello, Chia, can you hear me? Okay,
I can hear you. Am I still cutting out?
it's a little choppy on my side.
Hmm. Okay, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do here. How about this? In the meantime, you can talk about this. Oh no, she's gone. Maybe it wasn't me. Maybe it was Lisa's. Okay, somebody sent this to me while Lisa is doing that. Okay, you guys can hear me just fine. Perfect. Well, thank you. Okay, Lisa's traveling right now, so her internet might not be the best like how it normally is. But maybe it's your internet, Lisa. Can you hear me? Oh no, you can't hear me. You good? Yeah, yeah. I think your internet is choppy. But let me go over this real quick. Somebody sent this to me. And look, thousands of homeowners are about to get slammed with higher monthly payments. Why? Well, let's kind of watch, okay? Let's kind of watch this real quick.
However, our third quarter
Of
earnings show a market trend that indicates a
course.
steady increase.
Yeah, so many of you don't want to sell.
Oh, I can't hear anything. I can't hear anything on here either. What is going on today? Just our luck, huh? Okay.
Your house right now because you have a lower mortgage rate. Yeah, so many of you don't want to sell your house right now because you have a lower mortgage rate than you can get right now if you try to buy a new house. Ever wonder what that new mortgage would cost you, even in the house you're currently in? Now you can find that with this new interactive map. It comes from our partners at Hearst Newspapers and the San Francisco Chronicle. It shows how much you'd have to pay if you wanted a mortgage on your current house today. It's that specific. It's really cool. Let me show you how it works. And you can do this with your own neighborhood. In Palm Beach County, Florida, homeowners currently in a mortgage today are paying about 4.08%. If they tried to get a new mortgage rate today, it would be 7.31%. That means you'd have to pay about $581 more each month on your mortgage. Sacramento County, California, right now people are paying 3.72% in their mortgages. If they tried to get a new mortgage today in the same exact spot, it would be 7.21%, another $641 per month. I'm going to share this tool on my website, rawsonreports.com. Check it out. Back to you.
Well, we kind of knew that, right?
Yep.
However, our third
We kind of knew that was going to be the case. Yeah, that's why inventory are still low, even though you guys are seeing the data that I'm sharing right here about inventory, how it's at 2 months, but last month was at 1.8 or 1.4. Yeah, like Chua says, nothing new, right? Um, it's the same stuff. That's why people are not putting their homes on the market. And then you guys are probably saying, Chia, then what's this inventory increase right here then? If people are not putting the homes on the market, I'll tell you. A lot of inventory that's coming to the market right now that I see are from trusts. Yeah, from people passing away. And the children don't want to continue keeping it, maintaining it, or they don't want to become slumlords, landlords, whatever you call it. Your terminologies for your landlords these days. They don't want to become landlords, so they sell it to pay off probate or to pay off whatever bills that that's behind and keep the equity. And a lot of time those homes in trust have a lot of equity because there's no mortgages on them. So they sell it and they take the equity and invest, keep, save with it. Okay. Those are the type of homes I'm seeing today. Okay, and I think there was like a data chart. I need to find it one of these days and show it to you guys about how this time of day and age, like these next couple years, it's gonna be a lot of baby boomers that are retiring, that had started retiring, and they just have a lot of equity in their homes and things happen, and then their homes comes on the market. So those are the type of homes I'm seeing. The other types of inventory that I'm seeing is from flips. Landlords that's had a lot of properties in the past decides, you know what, I'm only gonna keep the good locations that's generating good cash flow and have good tenants. All the rougher areas or all the other homes that I would prefer not to manage anymore because I don't have the time or energy, I'll just sell it. And then what they do is they put the tenants on month to month, or they evict them, and then they renovate the house and they sell it. Okay, those are the inventory right now that I'm seeing. It's from flips and it's from trusts. A lot from that. Okay. One thing I will share is some inventory that I feel will be coming onto the market soon is going to be from homeowners that's bought their home within the past couple years. Even though rates are low, like what this video was talking about that we watched earlier, in insurance and property tax has been going up. At least in Sacramento that I've noticed, right, Lisa?
Oh yeah.
Insurance has
Oh yeah.
gone
Across the board.
insurance, yeah, it's crazy. Insurance is like
Yep.
doubled. Tax is like doubled. And for a lot of first time home buyers that bought within the past couple years that stretched their debt to income ratio, but their jobs didn't go through any promotions or any increase in pay to match those increase in insurance and taxes, they're having a hard time paying for their mortgages right now. They're cutting
Right.
subscriptions, they're cutting activities, they're cutting things out from their lives just to make ends meet. And that's causing them to, you know what, I'm just going to sell my house because I still have little equity in it to where I could break even or get some money back. And then I'll just
Right.
wait for the market to cool down and then buy again later. So
Right.
though I feel like that's going to be the new type of inventory that's coming into the market soon, is that if the rate of insurance and property taxes is going to keep going up the way it is right now. What do you think about that prediction?
Yeah, absolutely. So I missed a couple of things just because my internet is a little bit spotty. Chia, this article that you're showing and everything like that, has it already been shown?
This one?
Hmm.
No, I did not. So
Okay,
it was
so
it was basically just a video, right?
yeah,
About that.
because
Yeah, go ahead.
with that headline, I'm basing that they're talking about the adjustable rate mortgages, right? Because I've seen articles like this across the board on my feed and things like that. And I say that because I emphasize that because they're thinking it was like, okay, new homeowners are going to be slammed with new payments and whatnot. The new payments, I think, is going to come more from the higher insurance rate, okay, than the adjustable rate mortgage, only because most of those adjustable rate mortgages happened pretty much during like the COVID-ish time where the interest rates were actually
Hmm.
kind of still low and everything like that, which means
Yep.
I think most of those people technically already refinanced out of those already.
Yeah.
So I don't see us seeing a huge influx of that unless it's in the Bay Area-ish area where the interest rates of a quarter or half a point makes a bigger difference than it does in the impact here. I agree with you, Chia. I do feel like people who have bought, especially those who have bought in a price range that's higher than average in your area, we're seeing that a little bit of a slowdown, aren't we, Chia?
Yep.
Where home prices, if earlier when you mentioned on the data, it's like, hey, our average home prices now have increased to 632, right? But if your house is in the 700, 800 mark and
Mm.
above in our area, it's going to take a little bit more time because you said it earlier as well, Chia. People's income haven't increased to the amount that makes that impact for them to buy at a bigger price point
Yeah.
than they can right now. Okay. And especially if they were having multiple income households, somebody is leaving, say, for instance, in a bigger size homes, you typically see there's multiple families. There's aunts and uncles that are helping with the mortgage. There's mom and dad, there's grandma and grandpa. But now everybody's like, hey, I kind of want my own space, things like that. And if that's going to be a hurdle for certain families who are saying, oh, I kind of needed that help with that mortgage. And if you're not getting that help, they're going to find a way to sell.
Yeah. And I think when people see headlines like this, they automatically resort to, oh, then a crash is definitely coming, right? Not
Right. It's like an all
necessarily.
done.
Yeah,
Right.
everybody resorts to that final conclusion. And
Yeah.
Let me just tell you guys right now, if you guys haven't heard me say it here before, in 07, '08, when the market crashed, remember it was due to like subprime loans. A lot of homeowners during that time bought homes with the subprime loan, adjustable rate, and so when the market took a downturn, their interest rate shot up, basically tripled their mortgages, and they couldn't afford no more or refinance out, and they let it go. And the reasons why they couldn't refinance out is one, they couldn't qualify originally, like in today's standard, but they still were able to buy a home because there was a lot of ninja loans out there, right? And then
Mhm.
two, equities went way below water. So a lot of homeowners during that time that bought homes, their loan amount was way higher than what the home was worth. So it was really hard to get refinances unless you had
Correct.
cash to pay the difference. And many people during that time did not have cash to pay the difference because it was like fifties to hundreds of thousands of dollars difference. So that was two. And then three, it was just a bad economy afterwards. It was horrible. There are a few people I know that kept their homes and just did like a modification mortgage loan to where they during that time they probably only paid interest only for a good amount of time until the market kind of settled down. Then they refinance it to a fixed conventional or fixed FHA. But I'll say this, okay? I shared this same thing with one of my clients the other day. If you're able to stick it through, like those people that stuck it through during the '07, '08, even though they bought in '03, '04, '05, when it was at the peak, if you are able to stick it through, maintain your job security, maintain your lifestyle, well, maybe not your lifestyle, but adjust to the new lifestyle then and kept your home in today's market, you would have gotten so much equity and it would
Right.
have been worth it. So can you imagine, Lisa, if all those homeowners knew what they knew now? Like it would have, so many of them would have been prosperous, right? But to the
Yes.
ones
Yes.
that let go their homes or decided they're just gonna follow everybody's lead by letting their homes go back to the bank, some of those people that did that but could have saved it and kept it for the time being just to make ends meet, those people, a lot of them regret. A lot of them regret that they didn't do that.
So it all comes down to math, right? A lot of times when situations like this, when people quote unquote lose their house and everything like that, it takes on an emotional and mental toll. But if you take
Yeah.
all of that out and look at just the numbers and understand the financing part of that and understanding your numbers to see if it makes sense, because there's three things that could happen when you're in a tough situation, right? There's three options that you have. And it's one, either letting the house go into foreclosure, two, filing for bankruptcy, and three, short selling the house, right? If you're in a
Yep.
stuck situation. So let's compare it to that last market, why that would make sense for some and not make sense for others. Say, for instance, somebody had a mortgage and they were paying roughly $3,000 for it. So I'm going to use my own example. Okay. So when I purchased my first home in Elk Grove in 2004, my mortgage was roughly about 3,000. This is before I came into this industry. So my mortgage started out at $3,000 because I got the adjustable rate mortgage to start out with. And then when that adjustable rate mortgage started going up, and I also bought a brand new build. And this is the learning lessons that I had learned. The Melrose kept going the property tax for me kept going up. So I started at
Mm.
3,000. Okay. 3 years later, I ended it up at $6,000. That's double my mortgage.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
and then it kept going, right? And when I refinanced it out and everything like that, at that time, the interest rate was even higher, and I got myself from an adjustable rate mortgage into a fixed rate mortgage. Now, back then, you can have an adjustable rate mortgage that was interest only. So
Yeah.
therefore, the monthly payments were much lower, right?
Yep.
And then when that did happen, and when I refinanced, my monthly payment was again in that 6,000 range and everything. Okay.
Yeah.
And when you are looking at the numbers for that now, if I were to rent out the house, right? If we were to rent out the house, the maximum I could get was about $2,800 a month,
Mm,
because people always assume the nicer the house, the more you can rent it out. Here's the thing: when people do rent it out, people who are renting need something that's affordable. If they can afford a $6,000 rent, right, then they can afford a house themselves. Why would they rent that? So
right.
when you're looking at your situation right now and you're thinking, considering, hey, I'm in a really, really tough situation. What do I do? As you mentioned earlier, Tia, some people are regretting it, right? But maybe they're regretting it wrongly, because if they're looking at their monthly payments and everything like that, and even if they did rent it out and they're losing $3,000 every single month, that's $36,000 a year. So maybe
Yep.
it is better, even if, let's say, for instance, if they did short sell their house, and typically when you short sell, you can actually negotiate some money back.
Yeah.
And you don't have to pay your agents. The banks will pay your agents to sell the house for you and everything
Hmm.
like that. So it's not a complete loss. Whereas if you give up and just foreclose, that is the worst hit for you. So let me go back for a short sale. Okay. If you short sold your home, okay, there was a lot of people that went to that situation. If you short sold your home, 2 years later, you could purchase a home with an FHA loan. Okay. If it was a foreclosure, you have to wait 4 years or 7 years for that to happen for you to buy again. Okay. If it was a bankruptcy, it's 4 years. So you got to take a look at the situation and say, hey, sometimes you're not going to be able to get that choice of good and bad. You have to take a look at the full situation, be very realistic with it, and say, hey, is it going to be bad or is it going to be worse? I'm going to be in a sticky situation, but do I want to be in a sticky situation for 2 years, for 4 years, or for 7 years? Right?
Yep. Hmm.
So if you see that situation happening for yourself, get yourself in the forefront of that. Minimize your losses. In life, there's going to be wins, there's going to be losses. But during the wins, maximize those wins. Maximize your potential and save up to buy in the down market. A lot of times when people are like, oh, the market's going to crash, everybody's scared of that. If that does happen, prepare yourself to buy, right?
Yeah.
Prepare yourself to buy. There's a lot of millionaires, many millionaires were made during the downturn of the market. They were flipping properties like crazy. They were buying it at pennies on the dollar and being able to rent it out. So be prepared for that. But if you know that, hey, well, if the market crashed, I'm kind of in a predicament. Well, if you position yourselves where and you're buying in a comfort zone, right? And you're buying in an area where you're knowing, okay, worst case situation, can I rent a room out? Can I convert my garage? Or
Hmm.
can I rent my whole entire house out? Okay. And rent myself in a much, much smaller apartment. But hey, at least I get to save my house because I could rent it out for the price that my mortgage is to cushion that blow for a little bit longer. Okay. So there's a lot of strategies that you can do that will help you, that make it much, much more affordable and much more easy of a transition than it was when it crashed the last time in 2008.
Yeah, that is all true, Lisa. And I think sometimes we follow the train, right? We see the bandwagon. We're like, oh, I want to jump on that bandwagon. So we oh shoot, what is going on with my screen? Can you still hear me?
I can still hear you, but on my end, again, it's still choppy, but I'm going to chop it up to my hotel internet right now.
Okay, something is going on with my monitors. You can still hear me. I can hear you, but I can't see anything anymore. Today, I think this is I think this is what everybody's okay, I think I'm back. Can you hear me now? Can you still hear
I
me, I
can.
meant? Okay, good. All right. So I think people are kind of like in that mode to where like they want to be on the bandwagon, you know? And you should not be following the crowd. Is what I've always been told, okay? And I
You
think
should be
it
ahead of
holds.
it.
Yeah, you should be ahead of it, or at least do your own due diligence, because just because it works out for somebody else, it might not work out for you. You know, because everybody's situation is unique, just like how we mentioned qualifications, budgeting, and all that. it's gonna be different. Your cousin down the street or friend down the street might be able to buy a house, and then they bought a good deal. It might have been a good deal for them, but for you, you guys are probably not having the same lifestyle, the same income, the same financial situation. So it's gonna be different. So never compare yourself to the people on the bandwagon, right? So and then that goes back towards the housing crash that happened in '07, '08, right? I think during that time, so many people saw, because I know my mom mentioned this too. She almost let her house go, Lisa, during that time, because she bought in '03, and she almost let her house go when the market crashed because she looked at the value of her house like every day during that time, and she was like, "Oh my God, it's going down more and more and more." And everybody she spoke to was like, "Oh yeah, just let your house go." Like we let our house go when I was free of that debt. Yes and no. It still shows up on your credit report, that you let your house go. And
Right.
but then my mom was like, "No, I have a family. I need to keep this house because if I go out there, I'm gonna have to go and find another house anyways. We'll just try to make this work." And then she made it work. And then, she sold it like 10 plus years afterwards and made money from it. So I think if everybody is going through that, let's just say the crash happens this year and this happens. I
Hmm.
think people kind of get caught up on the equity part, right? They automatically conclude that I should just sell my house once the equity is in the negatives. Why would you do that? Like, are you still able? The number one question you should actually ask yourself is, can I still afford this payment? If
Right.
it's yes, then just hold on to the house because negative equity is going to be positive equity again. Because again, history repeats itself, right?
Right. So
History
let's go back to
repeats
that
itself.
math. Yeah, let's go back to that math, Chia. Let's say, for instance, okay, if somebody's losing $3,000 every single month, okay, that example that I
Right.
showed you earlier, if they were losing $3,000 a month, that's $36,000 in a year. That's $108,000 in 3 years. Okay, so those who had their houses bought their homes in 2004 to 2007 ish, which was the height of the last market, right? If
Hmm.
you did
Hmm.
that, and if you said, okay, well, I can either go rent something and for 2,000 or 2,500 and save myself that $300 to $3,500 every single month. Okay, because those who have bought that house that I purchased in 2004 is now worth roughly about 800, 850 ish, and that was I purchased that for 500,000. Right, so that's a
Mm,
difference already of about 300 to 350. Right,
true.
so it would have taken well over 10 years, okay,
Yeah.
to recoup that 300,000 or to let it go, right? So you got to take a look at your math. If your math
Right.
range, and you say, hey, it's worth it for me to keep it because if I go out, I'm actually only paying $3,500. But if I go out and I rent for $2,500, it saves me $1,000 every single month. That's $12,000 in a year, right? That's 24,000 or 36,000 in 3 years, 24,000 in 2 years, things like that. When you take a look at that math and you say, okay, projective wise, if the market is going this way, it's going to take this long for it to possibly recover. Maybe it is better for me to short sell. Okay. Or maybe it's not because, hey, even if I go out and rent, I'm only saving $100. I'm only saving $200. Then wait it out.
I think that I think everybody's smart enough to know their own situation, right? And I
Let's
think
hope so. Yeah.
sometimes, yeah, and I think sometimes, like I think sometimes, I think sometimes we just want to believe, right, that it's probably better this way versus that way. And then we
Right.
risk it, and then it ends up not being the way that we want it to be, right?
Right.
And
So
most, go ahead.
here's the thing, Gia. I think sometimes it's not about being smart, right? It's about taking the emotion out And a lot of times when people are so emotionally attached to their home, the memories, the what I could do for my family, I have to hold on for everybody else, right? That's the part that makes it very difficult to make that strategic, to make that decision that you already know in your head what you should do, but where your heart is that's where the decision maker is sometimes.
Yeah, it is, and you know what? We are
Yeah. The
stubborn
decision,
species.
right. Well, the decision maker should be your head. But a lot of times the decision maker is in your heart, and you got to understand, hey, let's take that all out. And you're going to need a third party. You're going to need a professional to say, hey, I want you to step outside a little bit. Okay. And a lot of times, especially mothers and fathers who think of their family first, which is a wonderful, wonderful thing. And, I'm not, no one's knocking on that. But a lot of times, in order for you to put an oxygen mask on your family, you got to put an oxygen mask on yourself and be really realistic with your financial situation, taking the emotional out completely. And sometimes having that third party professional will help you see, okay, at the end of the day, we're walking away, will saving X amount of dollars for your family every single day. Yes, you're a little bit tighter and everything like that. You're a little bit more cramped because you have to go to a place that's a little bit smaller and whatnot. But that stops the bleeding for you to increase your what you're bringing in on a monthly basis. You're actually having a savings and whatnot so that you can build that up and have more breathing room for your family, because you don't want to be in a situation where, hey, you're holding on to something emotionally, and if life happens, if a flat tire happens or anything were to happen, somebody gets sick, somebody has to go to the hospital, something of that sort, and
Yep.
everything collapses. You don't want to wait for that to happen. And this is where Chia was talking about, hey, don't jump on the bandwagon, don't do this, because anything could happen to your family. You want to make
Yeah.
sure that you have some sort of a cushion to do that, whether it's going to keep the house, if that allows you to have that little bit of a cushion, or renting out that room. I know a lot of family members who are like, hey, I have kids, I don't want to rent out that extra room. Hey, what can we do creatively, right? Is there a part of the house that can be closed off? We have people who are doing that, where they're closing off a part of their house and they're renting it out completely. Their family is staying in a tighter knit family, tighter knit portion of the house. They converted the living room into the kids' room, things like that. Sometimes you're just going to have to be a little bit more creative, and hopefully that will bypass that tough time for you, give you a little bit of that breathing room so that you can come back and say, okay, now we get to live our life this way. We get to our whole entire house out, and we actually had a couple more savings and whatnot, and we're good to go. Okay. And you can wait out this crazy time that we're heading into.
Yeah, and like speaking about friends and family, like when you're, going through that, who cares what they think? They're not paying your bills. Like, don't try to impress anybody, like
Right.
do what matters for you and your family. If you gotta get a second job to make ends meet, if you need to sell that house or sell that car that you just got or let go of that one thing that you just got just to make ends meet, do it. Who cares what people's gonna say? People's already gonna be talking and bringing you down already. So like, just do you and get yourself on back on your feet. Lesson learned. It's okay. You took a risk. If it worked out, if it didn't, it's okay. You live and learn, and you become better. So I think sometimes many people just they get they fall into that trap of, oh man, I'm gonna get hated from this. My image is gonna suck after this, or whatever the case may be. You know what I mean? And so I think we all just need to remember that we're doing this for our family, and we're not doing this to please other people. Because there's a lot of people pleasers out
Absolutely.
there.
Absolutely. And I think it's natural as a human, for us to want to please other people, right? Good, bad, or ugly, and whatnot. And sometimes we fall into that trap, like you said, Gia, you fall into that
Hmm.
trap. And because of what other people say, people make this an emotional problem, where realistically it's just a math problem, right? What does your math look like? What makes financial sense for you? Not for everybody else, not for all the Joneses that sometimes we get ourselves caught up in trying to catch up to, right? You don't have to do that whatsoever. Do
Yeah.
what's best for you. Absolutely.
All right. And then now speaking about the past, let's kind of talk about the future. How about that? I wanted
Yeah, I
to,
like that.
yeah, I want to share about this, but okay, predictions. Hey, you guys like predictions, right? Housing market
Mhm.
outlook for 2025 next year. So, meaning it's after elections, right? Let's see what their prediction says. Um, as we enter mid-July, the U.S. market has already begun shifting out to the seasonal window. What's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? Okay, U.S. home price forecast for 2025. Okay, Goldman Sachs says, we're gonna have like a 4% increase. Wells Fargo says 4% increase. Mortgage banker 4%. So it's gonna be like an average of 2.5% home price increase for 2025. Okay, so they're pretty positive on that end. All right, what else? So that's okay. So this is the home price. This is their prediction. It's gonna keep going up even after. Okay. So I'm scanning through it a lot because I know if I read it to you guys, it gets a little bit boring. Wait, shoot. Why do they think that home price is going to keep going up? The pandemic housing boom and the falling mortgage rate shock have stretched affordability relative to income. Moody thinks unhealthy affordability will constrain near-term home price growth. Goldman Sachs believes that the lack of supply will outweigh affordability. Even the average national home forecast is correct. It's possible that some regional housing market could see mid-home price declines, while some markets could still see elevated appreciation. That has been, after all, the case this year. I agree with this. Some states are experiencing downfall in home prices, but again, I give market update based off of Sacramento, California. So like from where we're seeing it, that's not happening. I mean, you guys saw from the data, it's still going up, right, Lisa? Maybe in
Mhm.
some market it has gone down and it's worse compared to Sacramento, but I think that's where a lot of individuals kind of confuse the data and use that as a blanket statement for everything, right? They see like a news report that's happening in the East Coast about home prices dropping in this and that, and they automatically use that as something to relate to where they're at. Maybe they live in California. They're like, oh, yeah, California's going to go down that route. And you got to be careful with that because then you're setting yourself up for failure and you're setting up the wrong expectation. You're sharing wrong
Absolutely.
information, because it's not even about your state. It's really in a different area, so you got to be careful. And I think sometimes a lot of real estate gurus, they do that too, is they find the data that's really, really, uh, like scarce, and then they use that data to speak for everything that's going on in the market right now. And they don't
Right,
really,
right.
really put like a fine print, an asterisk to say this is based off of Florida or this is based off of Tennessee or whatever. And I think that's
Right.
very important. That is very important to bring up because then you're not doing yourself any favors.
Absolutely, absolutely, and she is really super right about that. It's like data is really important so that you guys can see the trend, but it really is different. So you got to ask yourself, hey, where's this data coming from, and who is it affecting, so that you can see whether or not it does affect you. Now, home prices and things have slowed down a little bit, and when I say a little bit, it really is a little bit, and a little bit meaning, hey, if your home is typically in a higher range than the normal. I'm seeing it's like, okay, sellers a little bit more open to having seller credits and things like that, or people who are transitioning, they're moving from one city to the other city and they need to sell quickly so that they can have the funds for the next city. That totally makes sense. That's that little part, that little bit of leeway for our buyers to come in on, but that's not completely the norm. That's probably about 10 to maybe 20% of the transactions that we're seeing, correct? Yeah.
Yep,
So
it is.
when it's not like before, okay? It's not like before where you got an adjustable rate mortgage, your home prices, because it's so saturated, okay? There was once the foreclosure started for one house, two house, three houses start trickling down. Why? It's because when a home gets foreclosed upon and everything like that, and other people are buying at pennies on the dollar, when you're trying to buy or sell your house that's right next to that house that was foreclosed, the appraisal is not coming in. So therefore, it
Mhm.
also devalues that house as well. So not only do you have increasing, mortgage payments, you also have decreasing home prices. We don't see that at this time. So you're not going to see that crash as you're seeing, because it's not going to be like that. Inventory is still at an ultimate low. We're in a funky market where there's just not enough inventory still, even with that situation happening where the home prices are above average. They're going down a little bit, but they're not crashing, you guys. Okay, it's not a $50,000 to $100,000 of a difference. Whereas before, home prices, homes that were in the $500,000 to $800,000 were dropping 50 to 75%. Right now, it's dropping maybe about 5 to 10%, maybe, and
Yeah.
only on those home prices that are above average for the area.
I mean, I think this is interesting too, right here, Lisa.
Mm-hmm.
San Jose or California, mostly over here, right? Have experienced majority 10+% increase from last year in May to this year May in home prices. And in the state that's kind of going down, look, New Orleans, where you're at right now, negative
Mm-hmm.
6%. See, so different market. This is perfect right
Yep.
here. It gives you kind of like an idea. Austin is negative 4%. Punta Gorda is 3.4%, but I think Florida is still increased. New York over
Mm-hmm.
here, all of these are increased. So you kind of get an idea of how the homes are doing, right, for the past year, because that gives you
Right.
like a more clear definition of what's going on in the market. And this is all public information, that you can kind of do yourself. But yeah, don't pay attention to information about that doesn't pertain to your state, doesn't pertain to your area. That's why in the
Right.
beginning, like whenever I share data like this, I'm doing it based off of Sacramento County, you know? And yeah, this is pretty broad information still because I'm doing it based off of every type of home.
Right. And see, that's the thing with the data. This is great, Chia, but even in those areas that are falling 4%, 6% and whatnot, did they increase 20 to 30%, which is in our norm? We're only increasing by 8%, right? So if it's already increasing at a high, especially in Fresno, I see a lot of Sacramentans. I have a lot of clients from Sacramento moving to Fresno. And Fresno's now is slowing down a little bit, and everybody's like, "Oh, okay, even starting to slow down here." Yeah, but you got a whole influx first, so now it's kind of catching up too. So be
Yep.
careful the data that you're receiving and the data that you're reading, how that really truly works. Even though it looks like it's going down, you got to see the reports prior to that to also see and make that correlation. It's like, oh, it's because it really increased during this time, so people are slowing down because now that market is heightened and it's trying to catch up to everywhere else.
Yep. That is really, really it right there. There's this one other thing I wanted to share too. Yeah, let me just. Why can't I open it? Man, something is really, really going on with with my computer today. It's pretty bad. This is horrible. Okay. Now, for those of you guys that are deciding you guys are gonna give it another year or two to save up more money to buy a home of your dreams, and you guys are gonna go back to signing a lease and renting, here's to you guys, okay? Well, this is actually in Florida, so I wish it was more in Sacramento, but this will kind of give you an idea of what's going on if you guys are deciding to move. Redfin reports rent prices are dropping across Florida's most popular metros, okay? Let's see. Asking rents fell a record 12% year over year in Jacksonville last month. Also declined in Tampa, Orlando, Miami, Austin, Texas. So asking rent is kind of like asking price or list price, okay? It's not necessarily what they will agree on. It's just what they would prefer. But you could always negotiate your rents, okay? It looks like, a lot of these places are decreasing on that for rents, okay? Seattle, median apartment asking rent in America rose 0.7%. Okay. Florida is bucking national trend. Rent prices decline. Jacksonville, median rent fell 12%. Biggest drop since 2019. Tampa, 6%. Oh man, doesn't look like a good rental market in those areas, huh, Lisa? Do you have
Well,
rental markets in
again,
those markets?
I don't. I don't. Again, Gia, okay, we have to also consider, hey, well, what happened before? Was the rent, did the rent in this area increase by 10, 20%? And that was
True.
too high, and therefore it
Hmm.
dropped another
True.
4% to 6% to meet what was necessary for the area, right? We don't know that just yet. So
Yeah.
based off of this article alone, I wouldn't be able to make that determination.
Yeah, I like that thinking, Lisa, because then
Yeah,
I think these articles don't talk much about that, right? Like
right,
overall, the last 10-year lifespan, there's been a 20% increase. So now
right.
it's dropped 5%. That's a lot. People see that. They're like, oh, yeah, it's going down. No, that
Yeah,
means within the last 10 years, there was an overall 15% increase.
correct,
You
correct.
know what I mean?
So
So
you
I
have
think
to
that's a
consider
big
that.
deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot. But I'll tell you what I'm seeing in Sacramento. Rents are still up.
Right. I'm seeing
They're
that it's
still
increasing. It's definitely
it's
increasing. I have
here,
an
at least
investor.
here.
Oh yeah, I have an investor that just bought four properties, and they're getting over 3,000 rent on a. What they're doing is they're converting the properties into more rooms and whatnot. So they're renting it out individually. So they're getting their return back and then some. So there's so many people that even though they can't afford a whole big house, there's a lot of single people that can't afford at least a room. In a room, they're renting it out for $800, which is a
Yep.
significant difference from you getting a one bedroom, one bathroom in an apartment complex, right? So
Yep.
if a one
Oh my
bedroom, one bathroom
gosh.
is
Yeah.
roughly about $1,500 to $2,000 and whatnot, and you're going into this house where they converted the living space and the kitchen into the communal space, and everybody gets their own room. It's kind of ideal, especially for people who just graduated from college, young professionals who are trying to save money to purchase that house. It makes a lot of sense. So therefore, these investors are capitalizing on that. That
Yeah.
mentality was in the Bay Area. It's now migrating into Sacramento.
Yeah. And I think the county right now are being a little bit lenient towards that too, because they know we
Hmm.
need more housing, right? Kind of like
Right.
with the ADUs, policies and all that. They're promoting the heck out of ADUs right now. So like a lot of savvy investors are now getting creative. They're buying these smaller homes and just building an ADU.
Yeah.
Because you can basically rent an ADU for almost the same price as a house.
Yeah. Pretty much.
So that's becoming the new norm now. So everybody should get
Yeah.
used to that. I wouldn't be surprised if like a lot of these a lot of homeowners are doing that already to where their kids probably are selling their parents' homes and moving the parents in with them. And instead of going out there and buying a big home that already has like in-law quarter, right, or anything like that. They're just building ADU in their backyard
Right,
for their
right.
parents.
And here's the thing, here's the psychology of that, right? Let's just say if you were to have to move and everything, and the ADU has its own separate bathroom, living quarters, kitchen, things like that, right? It'd be better for you to do that than to live in the main house where you're sharing it with strangers too. So the reason why ADUs are renting out the same as the main house is because of that. People prefer their own space.
Yep, because after COVID, right?
Hmm.
After
Hmm.
Rona, everybody preferred their own space.
Right. Absolutely.
Right. Randy goes, I want a Sasquatch a house. Don't do that, man. I don't condone that. Don't do that, bro. All right, well, it's been an hour. That's the market update for all you guys. Hopefully you guys got something from this episode. Again, if you guys have any questions at all for me, Charles, or Lisa, feel free to reach out to us on social media, budgeting, housing market, anything like that. Or if you guys have topics you guys want us to share, kind of like some of these topics that were shared with me, to just give out 2 cents on, send it. Send it. Would love to go over it, give out 2 cents on it, and then, you know, go from there. Maybe we can all learn something from this because it's all for information purposes. But that is it for today's episode, you guys. We will catch you guys next time. All right.
Bye, Chi Chi fam.
Peace out.